What's shaking, everybody? My name is Ross Mandell. I'm coming to you guys live today from Delray Beach, Florida. I'm at Scott Woolley Studios. We got a real treat for you. We're opening up the new year with a guy named Darren Hobbs. You might recognize him or heard his story. He's been on the most recent season of AMC's Intervention. This man is a do-gooder. He helps people. He helps families weather the storm. There's just such a big issue today with drug addiction, with alcoholism, and these things, you know, they're words, but they're emblematic of serious pain. Families go through intense pain and discomfort, and needless to say, the individual that's addicted or is drinking alcoholically, I mean, this is really a subject very near and dear to my heart. I got clean in 1990, vicious alcoholic, drug addict. And it's just such a privilege to begin the new year with such a wonderful guy. Darren, thanks so much for being here today.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on. I was knocked down after receiving an invite to come on your show because I've been checking you out for so long. So when Frank made the connection, what's up, Frank? Thank you, buddy. So when Frank made the connection, I was stoked. So thank you for having me on. I'm excited to be here with you.
It's my privilege. Frank is somebody very near and dear to my heart. And his wife, Kat, and Sonny, they're in Orlando right now at Universal Studios. And God bless them. So you're coming to us today from Nashville, Tennessee. Is that right?
That's right. Nashville, Tennessee. I'm one of very few Nashville natives. I'm born and bred, never left, never planned to.
Really?
This is my home.
Really? I didn't know that.
Never left. Yeah, that's right.
Wow. It's
we have I think we have a crazy number of people coming in every day on a monthly basis, and we have nobody leaving.
From what I can tell, based on my most successful friends and also my coolest friends, Nashville is the hottest city, you know, outside of, let's say, Miami, in the country. That's my opinion right now. I have so many friends that are renting their now second homes, buying second homes, opening offices. Shout out to Brad Lee. I spoke to Brad, right before the new year. He's opening a big office, Lightspeed, has a big place in Vegas. But that you are a guy that has turned his life around. You're doing.
That's right. I got to the point, kind of like you did, where I was at a dead end. So it's either continue to hammer into the dead end or turn around, no matter how painful the turnaround process was.
Yeah, they say pain is a touchstone for growth. And, I have a big tolerance for pain. And I took myself right to hell. I mean, literally. And I was literally in hell for years. And most people didn't know it. That's the crazy thing. What I like to do, Darren, is, and I know what you're doing today, and we're going to get to this, is one of the most, it's very topical. It's current events. End fentanyl now. Mm-hmm. Fuck fentanyl.
That's right.
This is your ballywick right now. You're the poster boy. And I want you to know, we have the biggest armada, the biggest armada in our history, in our nation, right now off the coast of Venezuela. We just grabbed Maduro because of, he's flooding our country with drugs, specifically fentanyl. It means something to me. My best friend in the world, his daughter overdosed on what she thought was cocaine, and it was fentanyl.
Right.
And she partied and thought she was doing coke, and there was coke, but there was a lot of fentanyl, and she became brain dead, and he buried her in August. And so when I saw who you are and what you stand for, I felt like I felt the grace of God come through me. I swear to God. I swear to you. And I don't just say that lightly. I was like, I got chills. And let's dial the clock back. You weren't always Darren Hobbs, the TV star, and this do-gooder in front of us. Tell us about early life, and let's hear your story.
So early life, I was a kid who I never heard the word no. I had a mom who loved me to death. And I kind of taught my mom that I was helpless without her. I'd play tough out in in school or in the street playing sports. But deep down, I want to be under mama's wing, um, and around the time it got to be unpopular to be under mom's wing. I had the misfortune or good fortune of ripping a knee up playing basketball. And with that torn up knee came an unlimited supply of Vicodin. And this is early 1990s. So docs weren't really aware of the addictive properties that these opiates had, right?
How old were you?
But I had a script with I tore that knee up in December of my 8th grade year. So I was 13, almost 14 years old.
Oh, wow.
And so from that day forward, like I never, my prescription never ran out. I ran out frequently before the prescription. And I already had the ism as I know it. I was already uncomfortable in my own skin. But having those pills available, I took one, my knee still hurt. That's true. But I was cooler. My smile was better. My hair was better. I could pick up the phone with a cord. I got one right here. I could pick up the phone and call her because I felt okay. I felt more accepted by my friends, right? Those pills made it all go away. I was finally whole,
It works for a minute. It does work for a minute, right?
It works until it doesn't work, and,
Right, exactly.
And for me, it really stopped working when I went from being, kind of in the family home where there was, some management and mom and dad looking out for my safety, till I go to be a freshman at college, the University of Tennessee, and there was no management. So I got a pocket full of money. I got friends that aren't going to tell me no. And I've got unlimited access to alcohol and drugs. And I knew early on, I was trying, in a phone call early on that semester, I was trying to tell my father, I was trying to have an honest moment with him that I was really troubled with. I'm drinking differently within these guys. Like I can't, it's not partying to me. It's filling a need. It's filling a hole. The drinking that I'm doing, I might smile for a few pictures, but what I'm doing isn't partying. It isn't fun anymore. And I didn't know how to stop. And my dad, my dad's awesome. But he's the son of a World War II vet. And you know how generationally that goes. Well, you just need to work harder, son. Just work harder, And that was the attitude. You need to be tougher. You need to be more disciplined. You need to work harder. Everything's going to be okay. And, I wanted to make him right. I wanted to be able to do that. And no matter how many times I made my mind up that I wasn't going to do whatever I did last night again, I ended up doing it again, and that cycle repeated itself, for years and years,
It's a familiar story. I hate to say it. I wish I couldn't relate. So keep going. You're in college.
So I'm in college, and I'm college age, and I'm bouncing in and out of college. I can't, that first semester, I'm telling you, I went to the University of Tennessee. I got a B in bowling that first semester. That's the only class that I got a grade in. And the reason why is because that class stopped at fall break. I drank myself into such a depression, that I didn't attend a single class after fall break. I just got up every day and started drinking. And, I wanted to be different. At that point, I knew I was different. I wasn't quite sure that I wanted to bite off the term and the title alcoholic. But I knew I was different than the guys who could, go party on Tuesday, Wednesday, and then go to class at 8:00. I didn't have that wherewithal.
Right. So you're drinking alcohol. That's your drug of choice, right? At this point in your life.
Mm-hmm. It was until probably a year later. I'd fouled my way out of school, but I had some buddies that were in a fraternity down at a different SEC school. And they introduced me to this white magical powder on a CD case there. So a rolled up dollar bill, I roll up in a bathroom. These four guys are crowded around I think it was a Tom Petty CD case. And I walk in and they all look around like, well, since you found us, you're going to come, you're not going to tell on us. You're going to do it with us. And, they give me the dollar. I figured out what to do with it pretty quick, almost like I was made for it. I didn't miss. And from that moment until the task force got me, in 2010, April of 2010, the only question I wanted to answer in my life is, how do I get more of that cocaine?
Yeah, that was the drug that brought me to my knees. That was a drug that, there was no more denial because I couldn't stop. I didn't like what it did to me. I didn't like the way I felt. And I kept swearing it off. But I was making a lot of money and I had access to New York City. You get anything in New York. And I just couldn't stop. And I didn't love it. That's the worst thing. You know what I mean? It ruined my nights. And it started out great. But, you can't stop. You can't put it away. Other friends of mine would party, and then it would be like midnight. They'd put it away, so I got to go. And I'd be sitting in my house snorting coke till 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning, 10 in the morning, not going to work, And so
right.
I thank God for cocaine often. Because if not for that, I might just still be, out there like in denial. Alcohol is a rough drug because everybody drinks. Every occasion that's meaningful, your wedding, you're drinking champagne. They've convinced the world that alcohol is a necessary thing. At your bris when you're 8 days old, Jewish kids, they take a little bit of wine and they put it on their thumb and they let the kids suck on it, before they snip them. I mean, it's just crazy, right? So now what happens? You failed at it. You're a volunteer at Tennessee, bro. SEC.
So, hey, you said it right. That word volunteer, man, means a lot. But yeah, I failed out. Mom and dad brought me home and it's funny. My grades came while they had the courage to take like a 1-day trip right after I came home for Christmas. And those grades came home from, this is back when it would come in the mail, this is 1995, 1996. So my family had that old school like library wall with like all the encyclopedias and all the family books. I took those grades and I climbed up on a ladder and I picked a book out, shoved those grades in the book, put it back just right. I mean, perfect crime, right? No trace. My mom went home 3 hours and had found those grades.
Wow. She knows her boy.
Point B, point 3, you got to be in bowling. What are you doing? Right. And so that's the first time I said, look, I pointed back to that one conversation where I was trying to tell my dad, like, there's nothing good for me here. I need to come home. I'm drinking too much.
Oh, okay.
And I wasn't ready to say I was an alcoholic, but they asked me if I needed to go to rehab. And I said, yeah, I need to go to rehab. And so that was my first trip. That was right before Christmas. In between, freshman and sophomore semester. So December 96, there I go. And, I heard some things there that I agreed with, hard-headed, almost 19-year-old kid, but I'm hearing some things that made sense to me, which was one, relieving, and two, kind of scary, And there was a really high profile guy in there at that time. He shared a couple of things with me. He'd been a treatment vet, in and out for years, but he looked at me, he told me, he was like, hey man, if you take advantage of this, you'll never regret it. He said, I was in your shoes at at 20 years old. And had I gotten a hold of myself at 20 years old, I wouldn't be here now. And there's no telling how beautiful my life would be. And I'd never share his name. Don't know never tracked what happened to him. But he was right. My path is my path. I continued to suffer for another, really, that was 18, almost 19, 13 years. Really, I continued to suffer increasingly intense consequences. And it took that exact, like you said, I learned from pain. Pain is the best teacher I'll ever have. It took every bit of it to get me to become willing to do it the proven way, do it the 12-step way, do it with clinical support. I'm hard-headed. I'm sure, I was always sure that I could just do a little bit of cocaine or a little bit of pills or just drink just enough to not get in trouble, but still not have to ultimately deal with this, level of discomfort that I walked around with.
I understand. I mean, I hope the listeners are going to understand these little things because, we get messages from all around us all day. And one of the great things about podcasting is that we can say whatever we want, however we want it, and we can express it in a way that nobody's censoring us. No one is going to cancel us. We're not going to get in any trouble or get beeped. I mean, I was in so much discomfort is a great word, that's what the doctors say. You're going to feel a little uncomfortable. I mean, it's going to hurt like fuck. Yes. So, pain is pain. And, I endured a lot of pain because I didn't understand there was a better way. AA was a dirty word, in the 70s and 80s. The only people that were in AA were real street drunks. That's what I thought, people that slept in the Bowery on at bus stops, fall down, drunk, people that piss themselves, shit themselves, puke on themselves, etc. And
right.
I met a kid, and I was at a brokerage firm, and I was introduced. They were showing me around. I was like this big dog, like a number one draft pick. They paid me a lot of money to go to this firm in 1988, and they were showing me around. And they got to this office, and they said, "Listen, this guy's a little strange. You don't want to get too close to him. He's in AA." And I'm like, AA, AAA. People used to say AAA. It was really AA. Nobody was in AA. It wasn't cool to be in a program and all these different things. And today it's almost trendy. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you. Like everybody I know owns these treatment centers and rehabs and sober houses, and everybody talks about it so openly, so freely. But back then there were no podcasts, there were no cell phones, there was no Google, there was no computers. I mean, you had to talk to people to find shit out.
Right.
And I never met anybody that was sober. At least I thought. I thought everybody was like me, except that I was struggling. I couldn't put the coke away. I could put the alcohol away. I took pills because of my anxiety, because I'm doing coke all the time. What a shock. It's like
it's amazing that coke might cause a little bit of anxiety, right?
Can you imagine? And then the paranoia. But at the time you were going through this, a lot of kids were getting sober, and a lot of kids were going to rehabs, and AA was already starting to become a thing. You know what I mean? Like if you wanted to meet a hot chick back in those days, you go to AA meetings, NA meetings, and you met like good-looking women and cool women and nice women that were, competent and capable of carrying the conversation, etc. Trying to get well. It was a thing. Back, I'll never forget in the 2000, the early 2000s, and that sort of thing. They had a lot of sober parties, and today there's such a health craze going on. They say more. This has been the worst year for alcohol in history. of recorded sales. People are not drinking because there's sugar in alcohol. It's fattening and it's unhealthy. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you're still, you rushed us through 13 years of using drugs and alcohol. Tell us about your bottom. What happened that actually caused you to get well? If you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the bottom, and I'll be graphic if you guys want me to. I don't want to.
I want you to be graphic.
Yeah, but the bottom.
Let's get freaky.
The bottom for me. Let's get freaky. Let's do it. But the bottom for me. So, April the 29th, 2010, was a day unlike. It was a day just like all the others before it. I get up. I smash out my breakfast cocaine. I go to my little workstation and I chop up my bags that I'm going to sell that day. And, I call my supply guy and tell him what I'm going to need later on. And I called another supply guy because I was actually this is when Molly was around, but ecstasy was really more predominant in the Southeast at this point. But there was a Molly guy coming through town and there was a big event. And so I was going to grab enough Molly to land me in the feds that night. And because there was a big show coming. So I had big plans that day. And so here I am. I'm living, the fake gangster life. I've got a bar to run. So I ride around town all day. I sell my products. And I'm waiting on my guy that's gonna re-up me. He's gonna bring me the Molly. He's supposed to come at 9.
You were a real drug dealer. You were a real drug dealer. You were a real drug dealer at this point, right?
Real drug dealer, yes, sir.
You're really selling drugs.
Real deal. And I've been dealing drugs, really selling drugs more on than off for, 10 out of the last 13 years. I'd only stop if I was in jail or, in rehab. As soon as I hit the street again, I'm back at it, starting with a 50 bag and then we're booming.
Lot of drug use in Nashville. A lot of drug use.
I make my rounds.
Lot of drug use.
Yeah. I mean, we got a lot of college kids here, a lot of drug use. We got Nashville's home to musicians. Musicians love drugs. People that go to shows love drugs. A lot of colleges, Vanderbilt University's here. You could always mark your drugs up a little bit going to see rich kids at Vandy. But it was a great market. It was a great market. And as a lifelong Nashvilleian, I was always plugged in really well to who needs what. And back then we really operated more as a bigger small town than anything. I had a pretty good connect. So, that day I got rid of most of what I needed to get rid of, or planned to get rid of during the day. I go to open my bar down on Broadway, 421 Broadway, right down from the Bridgestone Arena, right near where the Predators play hockey right now. And, this nice man and lady came in right after I opened, and they, we sold cigars there. So this guy, the guy has a cigar, the lady gets a Coke, and a couple of ladies come in. I'm making some martinis. I'm showing off, I'm doing, chocolate on the rim and, fruit sauce on one. And I'm just, I'm acting like Tom Cruise from the movie,
Cocktail.
And, cocktail. I'm acting like that guy, like that was my gig,
Great movie.
And I got the hair all Jersey shored up, I'm looking slick, probably wearing a black V-neck just like this one, and I probably looked like Dracula, hadn't slept in a few days, and I had my phone's blowing up with so my drug sales once I got downtown usually heated up with guys who were going to be working that night. So, I had guys who would buy for themselves personally. And then I also had guys who would come and kind of do some distribution, up and down Broadway and downtown in the bars. And so my bags all had Batman and Bulldogs on them. So Batman were one size, Bulldogs were another size. And so if you're the police, you might think that this is like a network, you know?
Yes.
In reality, it's one guy. So I go to make a sale in the stairwell, like, 30 minutes into opening. And this guy couldn't be on the bar camera because he'd been a former employee and he had stolen from the owners. So I go make the deal, whoop, whoop, cash product, bang. I come back in and I come the long way around the bar to the bar entrance. And I hear, Metro detectives, put your hands in the air. And I look around like, man, I wonder who's getting arrested in here. There's not many people. And then I realize that it's me. Boom. I'm put on my back. And it's this nice couple they said they were from St. Louis. They're just having a Coke and a smile. They put me on the ground and they've got badges out now. They've got, they got the necklace badges and they tell me they're with the 17th Judicial Task Force, whatever. And then this third face comes over. He's this shaggy haired guy that I'd seen for weeks. This guy had been in my bar for weeks clocking me.
Gosh.
And he comes over and he says, we've been listening to you. We've been watching you. And I'm like my smart ass at that point. And I just done a line this big, right? John Gotti would have been proud. But the first thing out of my brain was, you would have waited till 9 o'clock if you had my phone, motherfucker, because you would have sunk me. There would have been enough Molly here to put me underneath the feds. And, at that point I realized like, man, my life was over. If there was a die now button, on my shirt, I would have hit it. And, the detectives, they asked me if I want to talk. I tell them kick rocks. They asked me again if I want to talk. I tell them kick rocks. The owner of the bar comes, important guy. I was glad he heard me say, I ain't talking. So it comes down to, the Metro. It's just the regular cops are going to give me a ride. And I ask him, what's bond looking like on something like this? And he's like, it's like probably these charges, you're probably looking at, I don't know, $3,000. I'm like, cool. I'll be home. I'll be back in the bar in an hour. This is great. By the time I get to the magistrate, a couple hours later, I've been charged with a school zone. I've got 48 separate. I had 48 different felony bags in my pocket that they got me with. They got me with cash. They charged me with a pistol that was also in the building. All of this in a school zone. So pretty much I'm looking at a murder charge. I'm already a range 1 felon because I'd gotten in some trouble years before. So this goes from a slight inconvenience with, good lawyer probation to my life is now permanently altered in a split second. And at that moment, I got chills. I don't know if you can see because this tattoo is new, but I got chills telling you this, man. That was God touching me saying, hey man, sit down. You're going to sit down.
Time out.
Until I'm ready.
Time out.
And I didn't hear all of that, right? I didn't hear all that right then. All I heard was, oh shit. All my comforts are gone. My comforts being cocaine, cash, being the cool guy. I think I mourned that. Like I had always operated from such a deficit of self-esteem that being the guy in the middle of, being the lion tamer and the bartender and the cool spot and the drug dealer, that meant as much to me as anything else. Is I finally felt accepted and wanted, and that was part of what I started to mourn, like in that moment. And I hadn't even been given the jumpsuit yet, So they set a hearing for a week later. Nashville, we had this historic flood hit the next day. So my house is underwater. My dog's missing. My parents were, I told them the story, I waited in the line and I told them the story. And then, my dad tells me to call him back. So he's pretty savvy for being in his, in his late 50s at that point. He reads the police report where the police report was pretty much opposite of what I had told him. The police report was, I copped to everything being mine, and this was my operation. And what I had told my father was that, it was a private cigar club. There was a police raid. And because people had lockers there and I was the only employee, I got pinned with all the dope. And so that's when my mom and dad told me, they said, hey, we love you. We don't like you. We can't be part of your drama anymore. And you're dead to us. That's it. Like this, you can stop calling us now because you're dead to us. And it, in my drug addict delusion, I called that number. I called that number 615-386-9679. I called it 1,000 more times and they meant it. Like they took that phone off the hook and disconnected the line. They were done. And looking back over the years of all the gifts that my family, and my mom and dad, generous people, of all the gifts that they ever gave me, that one was the greatest one. That's the one that saved my life.
Cutting you off.
Because if I could have had the comfort,
so cut me off. They said, that's a message.
Cutting me off. Hey, we're not dealing with your bullshit. We're not dealing with your bullshit anymore. You now get to face life with the tools you got. We're going to let life touch you instead of, another hug from mom, another check from dad, another circle jerk, get you back, get you dusted off. We're going to let the world touch you. And as it happens, I'm somewhat Rain Man-ish with phone numbers. I had just seen a couple of days before, I had just seen a Facebook ad for a guy I grew up with, put his personal cell phone number. He was a newish defense attorney. And I called him. And we were, once upon a time, we were very close, but it had been years. But I called this guy. His name was Joey Fuson. Hey, Joe, I love you. I call him the White Johnny Cochran for a reason. So I called Joe. A couple days later, he shows up, and I'm still kind of in this, haze. I hadn't, the sleep I'd gotten in jail was the first sleep I'd gotten in a few days. And, I hear my name called. The guy comes and gets me off my bunk, and I go to the attorney room, and there's this guy that I called, and I didn't recognize him. And he didn't recognize me really. It had been so long. And I realized, holy shit, like he came, he cared, and he asked me if I wanted to hire him. I told him, yeah. I asked him, what he cost. I told him I didn't have it. And he said, I told him I'd give him what I had. And he said, okay. So he let me keep, and this was key for a couple reasons, but one for dignity and like long-term hope. He let me keep my last $1,500. The cops had got me for most of my cash value because I was walking around with my bankroll, right? I'm sure the cops all reported all that cash in the intake, when they got me.
I'm sure they didn't.
But my attorney Joey, he let me keep my last $1,500. Yeah, right. You know how that goes.
Beautiful. Yep.
But he let me keep my last $1,500. And to me, looking at best case, he said right now we're looking at best case, we're looking at a split 9. We can get you a year to serve and 9 on paper. And I'm thinking, man, like a year in jail, like I can't do that. I've been to some country boy jails in East Tennessee when I first started getting in trouble, and it was like redneck Goodfellas. Like my best buddy's aunt could come pick me up and bring me a Cracker Barrel for breakfast, or I could use my own credit card and have pizza delivered to the Sally Port of this jail.
Wow.
I could ride the John Deere Gator across the street and go get a haircut. And then my wife could come hang out with me in the Dare trailer. Right. This is in East Tennessee in, early 2000s.
Wow.
And now here I am in a big boy jail looking at big boy charges. And this is a different deal here. There's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go. And again, like a series of gifts that I think God was giving me, he was letting me get miserable enough to look the one direction I'd never looked, which was to him. And so I get one letter. I got one letter from my dad. It was really short. And it said, at the end of it, it said, "We've been trying to help you for 15 fucking years. Maybe God can help you now." And he had never, that is the first and only time my father's ever used the G word with me. And he'd said, "God damn it," a few times to me. I thought that was part of my name for a while. God damn it, Darren. You know,
I do get it.
But he had never used the word God like that. Right.
Yep.
He'd used it out of frustration, but never like that. And I'm sitting here going, God, how's God going to help me, man? Like I got a bond that's sky high. I need a source hearing that I clearly can't make. I can't show, I don't have the cash or the legal income to make a cash bond with a source hearing. I'm done. I'm stuck. So my attorney says, we go from, hey, it's going to be a split 9. Best I can do. You should sign it when we go to court. I said, okay, I'll sign it. So I signed this thing thinking 1-9. I'm going to be out for a year. Maybe my parents can, maybe my folks won't have to sell my house somehow. Maybe. Just a bunch of maybes that I could kind of hang my hat on. Well, I go to sign that deal. And the DA won't sign it. And he tells my attorney, he says, hey, you tell your client that he can take this 16 to 20, or I'll make sure he gets 20 at trial. And so the security of that 1-9, even as shaky as that was, I was looking at taking one to serve with 9 papers. And then the DA threw it away and told me he
took the plea deal off the table. The DA took the plea deal off the table. Or there was no deal.
After I'd signed it. Yeah. After I'd signed it, there was no deal. So I got to sit. So now I'm bound over to the grand jury, and 4 to 6 months, I'm sitting here thinking this DA wants to hammer me and make an example of me for selling drugs downtown Nashville. And he's telling me he's going to give me, if I don't accept 16 to 20, he's going to make sure I get that 20 at trial.
Wow.
And so I got to pace, and I got to pray, and I got to get miserable, and I got to think through, my mom will be 70. My father will be 70. My nephew, who I love like a baby brother, will be out of college. Like the best years of my life will be gone. Right. And I got to feel that, and I got to live that. And, the delusion that I was going to somehow be okay was melting away. Right. And, the reality was sinking in that, man, I was just screwed until I was unscrewed, until the numbers worked out, and the number of days that these guys required me to be here, I'm just going to eat bologna sandwiches and eat shit, and my relationships are done.
I do know.
And
listen, I do know.
A funny thing happened.
I do know.
You know that feeling, right?
I know that and worse.
And you kind of live those days. You live those days in advance, right? Because I already know that's going to be true, right? And a funny thing happened. A guy gets his number. We're all in this in a big pre-sentenced pod, and this guy gets his number called. He's going home, and he starts giving away his stuff. He says, "Hey, who wants this blue book?" And I look up. It's the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I run over.
Wow.
I run over there like I'm like an old lady running to Bob Barker, on the right. And I grab it, and so there's this one guy. There's one guy that I hadn't burned a bridge with from the recovery community that I'd been involved with, in and out over the years. And I figured there was just one guy that would care that I was locked up and I might need a friend. And I wanted to schedule a visit with him, but to do that at that time, you had to have a phone number, right? And so this guy, I grabbed the book and I opened it almost immediately. I take it to my bunk and I open it almost immediately. And this is a miracle. There's no other way to describe it. I open it up, and the very first page, Larkin L 615-613 blank 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 blank. That's the phone number of the man I needed. Happened to come from a book from a guy that was leaving jail, happened to offer it up. And then there it is. So my guy, Larkin, he had come in and done some service work and given away some books. And sure enough, as I go to the counselor to schedule, this visit with my buddy, I got a letter from this same guy. He's trying to contact me. He had heard that I was in trouble.
Wow.
And he wanted to walk.
It's a God thing.
He said,
this is God.
Hey, it doesn't matter if you do.
This is all a God thing.
Total God thing. So all of God, complete. This is God piping me. I'm getting drafted and I don't even know it. And we get on the phone and he's like, hey man, I don't care if you do a nickel. I don't care if you get out in a month. If you work these steps, you're going to have a life and I'm going to make sure you've got friends. You've got at least one friend right now. We're going to love you. And that was all I got. And that's all I needed, And so I go on to read the book. I totally dove into it. And I read on page 152, have you a sufficient substitute for drinking? Yes, we've got a sufficient substitute. And it's vastly more than that. The most satisfying years of your existence lie ahead. And in that moment, Ross, I'm looking at, man, the next 20 years of my life are gone. So if this sentence is true, like if I got anything to believe in, it's this thing right here. The best years of my life are still ahead. And from that moment to, the months leading up to like the grand jury and the indictment and all the stuff and my sentencing hearings and all of this, I just kept getting these small, I call them hope snacks from the man upstairs, like just keep going. So we get in, the indictments come back. They're not quite as bad as they could have been. I beat the school zone charge, which was most of the time they could have given me. I beat it by about 500 feet. So I go from looking at, possible 16 to 20. Now I go back to, I'm looking at 8 to 12, but they can confine me. And, over the negotiation dates, it got significantly better. I ended up getting a split deal, do 1 year in jail and then do 12 on paper with the caveat. If I screw up at any point on the paper, on the parole, I go back to 0 and I do the whole whop. So I had to, and I told my attorney's always like, hey, this is a terrible deal, Darren. Don't do it. And I was like, no, man, look, if I can't stay sober, I won't be alive anyway. So give me this deal. Give me one more shot at life. That's all I got.
Wow. I mean, wow.
And that was at some point. That was late October. So I'd sat from, late April to late October thinking that the next 20 years of my life was gone. And then this beautiful day in October, I got to sign this deal that said, I'm going to have one more shot at life. And I don't know if you ever gotten a ride on a school bus between a detention center and a courtroom, but that's how we did it in Nashville at the time. And it was a beautiful day. It was like a 75-degree day. And I'd spent all day, stressed out. I get to sign the deal. And on the way back, man, it's 70 degrees. I'm in the school bus. The windows are open. And I could just feel God just touch me, man, going, dude, you got one shot.
Yep.
You're going to have one shot. And you better not fuck it up.
I just want you to know. And I want you to know.
That was the day my life started over.
I want you to know I've been on the bus, the federal bus, going from community jail to friggin' federal detention centers, and going from federal detention centers to federal prison camps, and it's friggin' hell. And I've been handcuffed, black boxed, shackled. So let me just say to you, I get all of this in a way that I pray nobody else that's listening can understand what I understand, because God carried me through 9 years and 4 months. I did 112 months in the federal system. And now I just completed 24 months of federal probation. So I promise you that I get it and I can feel it, if you know what I'm saying. And I love hearing your story. Now,
112 months, man.
In federal custody with another 36 months on top of that in federal probation. And, bro, it has been it's been crazy. I just want you to understand. So I get it. And I appreciate your story and the fear and the paranoia and the thoughts of, I just want to die. And please, I can't take another day. God, I can't take another day. God, I can't take another hour. God, it, please. And, kicking drugs, right. kicking alcohol. I mean, and with all this shit, when you're in prison, it's not like going to summer camp. It's like going to summer camp with psychos, with predators. You're surrounded by guys that are as desperate as you and often much more crazy. And so it's when I understood your story, I was very excited to get you on the podcast, and I appreciate you sharing it, because the moment that those cops threw you on the floor, the moments that you knew that the police were involved in your life, and the realization that this is going to go on now for God knows how long, that anxiety is probably worse than the actual events. And the actual events are horrible. But because we're alcoholic, we're
exactly
addictive personalities, whatever it is.
Because you have no idea how long it goes.
Right. And it's the end of the world. I thought my life was over. I thought I was dead.
There was this.
The fact that I'm here doing a podcast, considering what I've been through, is a shock to me more than anybody else. And it's a true blessing from God, because it was impossible from where I was to be here right now and to have the privilege to get to know you. So you get out of prison after 1 year. After you're in state prison or county jail. Where did you do your year?
I went from county. I took a plea and went from county jail right across a parking lot into state penitentiary.
State pen. Okay.
Same day.
Was it rough? Was the state rough?
Finished my time in the state. Yeah. State was actually an upgrade, man. You got a pillow, you got an extra uniform, you got a little more Kool-Aid,
Yeah, county is terrible. County's just
got into a dog program, So
oh wow,
yeah, county's awful,
awful.
But getting into a dog program to me was great. I've always been like an affectionate person, and so being able to care for an animal was just a miracle for me, because I got to touch something, and feel some warmth and provide a little bit of care. And that was like really like when my heart kind of just started coming back to life, and I screwed that up, honestly, like, I don't know, 2-3 months maybe into being in the state, I got into a fight that ended up with me having to go to the hole. So, that's I go into, and again, that I see that now as a gift too. But I get in the fight, I go to the hole, and they take my, at this point I've got a radio and some books and, some stuff, but I get to choose a big book or a Bible, and no radio, no nothing, no other distractions. And so I really, for the first time, and this is in like late January. I remember it was right after my birthday, because a friend of mine had come to visit me. So I'm in this, it's as wide, the room's as wide as my wingspan, which I'm barely 5'8", and maybe 8-10 feet long. You got the nice, you got the bunk bed set up at the rear of the room. You got the Home Depot chrome sink toilet combo there with the bacon sheet mirror, you know. You got the pie hole door, and I got to sit there, and it was really the first time. And I think this is a gift. This is a true gift. This was the first time that I'd actually had to really be alone with my thoughts and really have a chance to think through how, you know, when we're in addiction, we just think I'm just hurting myself. It's a selfish crime. But it was the first time I'd thought through, man, how much time have I taken away from my mom and my dad? Forget the countless fraudulent, you know, times I robbed them blind, but how much energy have I taken from them? How much have I embarrassed my friends that have claimed me? How much have I how many times did my mom like turn away from somebody at the grocery store because she didn't want to get asked, how's Darren doing? You know, I mean, how did I really impact the people's lives that were closest to me? You know, it really hit me then. Like it went from being, oh, poor, pitiful me. You know, I've made some bad decisions and my life's going to be shit. To, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I've hurt everyone that's tried to love me. And I think that's when I had 46, 47 days of learning and living through that and repeatedly reading the big book and just kind of trying to read, you know, as I read with frequency, the depth and the width kind of got into me a little bit, you know, and I really started to think that I understood my alcoholism and it was really a chance to ultimately grow, you know, and once I got used to kind of having my own space and the dominoes not getting slammed every night, it was actually a somewhat enjoyable vacation from being in Gin Pop. It wasn't bad.
I get it. I understand. Privacy, there's no privacy in prison. Zero. And sometimes I crave that, you know.
Zero.
Right. And then no physical affection. I understand this thing with the dog you mentioned. You know, I went literally 7 years without touching another human being, really. And and I crave that. I'm a physical type guy. Rough stuff we dealt with. Let me ask you, when you were in prison, when you were in state and even county, did you drink? Would you get high? Because there's a lot of drugs and alcohol.
I did not.
So you stayed clean throughout?
I did not. My sobriety date. So my arrest date was April the 29th, 2010. And I was hired and shit the day they got me. So my sobriety date is April the 30th, 2010. And knock on wood, it'll be that won't change.
Thank God. That's beautiful. So at some point you get out of prison and now you're on paper, as we say, right? You're on parole. Is that it?
State parole. And I was on an intensive parole, meaning they could, like, the rules were a little bit different on me than they would be on just somebody else that had a track record. So my guy could pop up on me at any time, right?
I get it. You have no rights.
You know, and this is God. Yeah, you got to expect, the only rights you got are that they can change at any given moment, right? Right. But I had a couple things working in my favor that I didn't realize. I went to one halfway house they were using. I raised my hand and I snitched it out. And so they moved me to another halfway house and they're doing the same thing. So this guy, like this, he owned both the houses. He was like, well, maybe we're just not the place for you. And I was like, all right, cool. Let me just have my money back. And he said, sorry, that's drug test money. It's non-refundable. So this guy wouldn't give me my money back. Now I'm broke, right? So I got the chance to ask for help. So another guy that was in my work release crew, I got to ask him if he could speak for me at his halfway house and get me a tryout. I got to sleep on the couch for a couple nights before they voted me in, right? And I got to work my way in. And I vowed to the moon and the stars, like, hey, this guy, and he's his business is barely hanging on right now here in Nashville, his sober living business. But I vowed to the moon and stars, I'm gonna put this motherfucker out of business. I hate him, right? And I know resentments aren't great for us, but
resentments are like cancer, bro.
But I put a big.
I understand. Yeah. He's going to get his. He's going to get his.
That was the start. Yeah, he'll get his. But again, it was another gift. It was God showing me what I was supposed to do. I had no idea I wanted to be in the sober living business or get into the treatment business until I was mistreated. And I thought, well, shit, if I was mistreated, how many guys does this happen to? And what would happen if somebody did a legit job and offered these guys legit services? And that's how I came to be in this business. So again, even that the thing that caused me pain and discomfort, it turned out to be a win. And so it didn't happen to me, it happened for me.
It's a perfect segue. How do you end up? So you do your bid, you're out on parole, you're sober, you're starting to evolve into the Darren Hobbs that eventually gets on national television and is now helping families and leading the end fentanyl movement in this country. I mean, you're a big deal right now. And so at some point you get into the sober living business, the rehab business, right? It was, Nashville Recovery Center, the In Rhythm Recovery Residences, Nashville Detox. I mean, these are serious pieces in a portfolio. You evolved as a person, but as a business guy, you're now building companies, and we know you eventually sold them, and now you have a family business where you're an interventionist for the Firm Addiction Consulting in Nashville. So take us through the evolution. How you get into you just mentioned how really you got into the sober business, right? The business of sobriety and helping other people get sober and clean and live, et cetera. And how you sold those companies. Right. And then, how you become recognized on national television. You're an authority. You're board certified as an intervention professional. You've got over a decade of experience in addiction recovery.
That's right.
You've been working in behavioral health since 2010. I mean, you are credentialed, you are certified, you are recognized as a leader in the intervention movement, which I think is one of those beautiful things. Because, as I said at the very beginning of this podcast, you're a do-gooder, bro. You're a do-gooder. So drugs, alcohol, God, and all these painful things that you've been through molded you into the guy you are today. So pick it up and let us know about how you go into the business of recovery.
Yeah. So it's a God thing. So I told you about the phone number that I found in the book. So that guy becomes my sponsor, right?
Yes.
His wife, her name's Katie. His wife had just opened a women's sober living house. Like while I'm locked up, she's got this new women's sober living. And I became really close with both her, and I began working for her family, like right off the rip, right out of jail. And so as she and I begin a friendship, she's got this new women's program open, and I'm like, hey, I really want to put this dude out of business. Will you show me how to open a men's? And she said, if you get a year, she said, you get a year street clean. You stay sober a year on the street and do it my way. Like only work 40 hours a week, stay single. So you can work on yourself, go to therapy. Then I'll show you how. And I said, okay, deal. You got it. Because every other time I tried to get sober, I tried to make too much money. Like, I'd work 70 hours a week to fill up whatever financial hole, or I would try to distract myself with a girl or whatever. And in this case, I was really lucky. I'd gotten really fat and disgusting while I was locked up. And so no woman that I would want would actually want me back. So in this case, humility was in abundance for me. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't have to worry about that.
I
And
get
so
it, bro.
I worked a day job. I worked a day job. You know what I mean?
I do know.
And so
More
I
than
worked
you
a
know.
day job, and I worked moderately. I worked moderate.
More than you know.
You know,
I get it.
right? Like you totally get it.
Been there, done that. Felt that.
And so that first year, I'm thinking, okay, cool. Like I got to work for some really nice people. They understood, like I didn't have to lie. They knew I was, convict. But my sponsor told me something cool early on. So I was the property management guy. Like emptied the trash and changed the light bulbs, for this like mixed use commercial retail space, and had a few apartments in it. And my sponsor told me early on, he was like, you can judge the quality of your sobriety by the number of keys to stuff that's not yours. And I look at this big key ring and I'm like, man, I can get in a jewelry store, I can get in a coffee shop, I can get into a Mexican restaurant. You don't know who I am? Like I got a vault key, right? And so my life just kept like, again, these hope snacks. I keep doing the right thing. Awesome people are extending themselves to me to like be my friend and like helping me feel like I belonged. And like that part right there, like the feeling of belonging, that's what I had chased in every bottle of liquor, every bag of blow, was I just wanted to be one of you. I just wanted to feel cool enough to be liked.
I get it.
And sure enough, like I meet these cool people that, you meet these cool people and I'm like, wow, I really admired this person and they're nice back to me. And I'm like, wow, they liked me back.
Yep.
This is the best deal ever. Right. And so a year goes by. I followed by the rules. I didn't work too much. I didn't try to date. She shows me how to she opens a men's and installs me as the guy that runs it. High accountability, lots of schedule, lots of structure, lots of clinical influence, a lot of outside programming coming in. And one day early on in that, I get asked by a female interventionist who's working in town if I could come and just be a scary male voice if needed. Just come, make sure no fights break out. I'm like, all right, cool. At that point, I look a little bit scared, and I do now. And so in this case, there was a young man who had, he was about 20 years old. He's a stud athlete for years. And his mother had been home dying of cancer. As she was dying, he had a pill problem. And as his mom was dying, he was stealing his mother's comfort medication,
Yeah, I do.
So a couple of years goes by from death of his mom, death of his mother. His pill addiction gets worse. He's not leaving the house. Family gets involved and finally decides they're going to have an intervention. So they contact the woman who brings me in. And my job is to just make sure that nothing crazy happens. But we walk up to this young man's room. He's playing video games. His dad opens the door and says, son, we're here to talk to you about your drug addiction. And this frail little kid looks up at his dad and he says, Daddy, what took you so long? And I heard that and I felt that. And I was like, dude, it was like hit lightning, like right in the heart. Like, dude, if I can pay my bills doing this, I'm good. This is all I ever want to do in my life. And, and from that point forward, I knew that's what I wanted to do. And I went to a mentor of mine and said, hey, this is what I got to do. Make me a map. And his name is Jamie Vance. And he is the former tenant of this office. He's my best friend. He passed away in June, but Jamie made me a map. And he said, if you do this, you'll be successful. And I took his advice, and here we are 15 years later.
That's amazing. That's crazy. Now, for the people that don't know, explain what an interventionist is. People have no idea. People are not from this world. We're talking Chinese. You know that, right?
Yeah. Right.
Explain what
Yeah. So an
interventionist is.
interventionist, in real simple terms, an interventionist is a family guide where families fighting addiction, they don't speak the language, they don't have the currency. All they know is they've got somebody they love that's sick on drugs that needs to go to treatment, and they need somebody to manage that whole process. So an interventionist, a good one, the way I would teach someone to do it, or the way that I would have a family come on board, we streamline everything. We handle treatment selection. We handle intervention, scripting, messaging, who's going to be there, where it's going to be, where we're going for treatment, who's flying with the guy, who's interacting with the therapist, who's triaging messaging between family and client to make sure that there's no how much bullshit we like to we go to treatment and we want to give half a story to our therapist and treatment team. So a true interventionist has got his hands on every detail around a family and a client's experience while that client's in treatment, and then manages the aftercare process. I've got some families that have been with me for 4+ years. And we're not talking about constant relapse. We're talking about 4 years of harmony and growth. So we work with families. The only state I haven't worked in is Hawaii. I don't think I can fly that far anyway. We are very lucky to stay busy. We get to stay useful. One of my mentors early on told me when business got slow, the best thing to do would be to give a job away. And so every now and then, seasonally, the phones will dry up, and the first thing I do is I got a couple different centers I call and say, hey, next time you got somebody that's just insurance dependent but completely unwilling, I want to do an intervention for those people.
Wow! Now,
and it works like magic. It tends to open the phone.
So you shared about the kid that your first intervention, where the kid was playing video games. He looked up and he's like, "What took you so long, Dad?" Right? So, shit like that can happen. But then there are interventions that get nasty and very confrontational. Correct? It's not always easy peasy.
There are, yeah. No, those real easy ones are few and far between. Most of the time, we're dealing with a lot of denial, a lot of objections, and so we prepare our families to we forecast all the objections that this person might have about going to treatment. Whether it's I'm gonna adopt a cat on Tuesday, or I've got a new job, or I'll try counseling, or you drank with me last week, so what are you doing in this thing? We got to prepare our families to be ready for everything. I want everyone to be hopeful, and I prepare everybody. I prepare for everything, and I prepare for the script, but very rarely do we get to stick to the script. There's always nuance and dynamic stuff that pops out. At this point, we've seen quite a bit over my career. I'm never surprised to see anything new, but it's been a while since I've seen anything really new, in an intervention.
Yeah, it's there's only so many objections. There's a lot potentially, but there's only so many. It's not infinite. And so it's your business to know these things. All right, so let's talk about,
right.
I mean, it's pretty obvious that you're very experienced. You lived a life of addiction and alcoholism personally. You suffered. You went to prison. You went through a series of steps. We call it the 12 steps. I call it the greatest technology of the 20th century. And you get into the business of recovery. rehab, detox, sober houses. You sell all that. Now you become an interventionist, and you literally act as a guide for families that are dealing with this, maybe for years, but now already that's the last straw. We're going to sit you down. We're bringing your loved ones in. We're bringing professionals in. You're going to get help now, right? Now you have begun something that I feel is worthy of national attention. End fentanyl now. This country is being systematically poisoned. And I hate to say it, but they say the drugs come from China. And they go through Mexico and they go through Canada. But our youth, the drug addicts, etc., even pills, Molly and ecstasy and bootleg Quaaludes and cocaine and heroin, they're putting fentanyl in everything because it's cheap, it's powerful, and I believe that the people that this is part of like their mastermind program. They're trying to literally hurt Americans, according to what I listen on TV and Google, etc. Tens of thousands of people are dying.
It's chemical warfare.
It is literally chemical warfare. Thank you. And I know that
it's chemical warfare. It's chemical warfare. Starts with the Chinese, goes to the cartels. You're exactly right.
So tell us about End Fentanyl now. Tell us what you're doing, how that evolves. I think this is something that's friggin' important. This is big stuff.
So thank you for teeing that up. It is so I was Googling around a few years ago. Nobody really understood fentanyl or its impact, or that it really adulterated every drug supply, right? And I just did a GoDaddy search. I wonder if I could buy fuckfentanyl.com. And sure enough, it was available for.
Wow.
It was expensive. I ended up getting it for $6,000. The guy wanted like $28,000. I bought it for $6,000.
Wow, that's a lot of money for a URL.
And then I went and bought a corresponding, suite of URLs that would go along with it. And I settled on End Fentanyl Now, being kind of like the clean version. That's that everybody can kind of wrap their minds around. And then,
correct.
I'm as a victim of, a victim of someone with limited bandwidth. I kept kind of putting it off. All right, we'll get that next month. We'll do that next month. We'll do that next month. Well, that was 2.5 years ago. Finally, we got the wheels in motion. We got websites set up. We got the store set up. We got Narcan distribution set up. Destiny on my team has been crucial on bringing all this to life. Me by myself, I'd still be slamming keys on my Mac. But we've got basically End Fentanyl Now is it's merch with a mission, and the mission is to make everyone aware that we can help people avoid overdose. We can together with enough education and awareness, we can put Narcan in everyone's hands. Narcan can be a life-saving tool that everybody knows how to use. And we get it. If you're going to go buy it at Publix, you're going to pay $50 for it. So what we ask you to do is buy a shirt that says fentanyl or I carry naloxone or stay strapped carrying naloxone. And we'll send you the same amount of Narcan. So you get to be part of the solution too. And as we grow the content on the site, I do want to make sure that we're staying current. I want to make sure that everybody knows how to use the drug. It's a very simple process. Every state typically has Good Samaritan laws, so a lot of people could be typically be scared of. I don't want to render aid because if someone dies, I don't want to be part of that.
Right.
There's Good Samaritan laws in every state that cover you as a Good Samaritan.
I know that.
Trying to help. I want everyone to know the ABCs just like they would, like, hey, you see a kid in the car, he's got to have a seatbelt on.
Right.
right?
Right. I love that.
But in drug addicts are hard to love, right? And so you go to some place like Kensington or go places part of New York City, and you see these people staggering around, and you go, he's made a bunch of shit choices in his life. Who cares if he dies, right? I look at it like this: like at some point, like if me and you are walking by a pool and we see a kid drowning in a pool, am I going to say, hey, Ross, should we let this guy drown? Because I think his swim trunks suck, and he should have learned how to swim before he jumped into 6 foot water, right? It's like, is that our judgment call, or is it our job to just go grab the kid and pull him out and make sure he's breathing?
100%.
And that's where I think like the morality play comes in with a lot of people. They made poor choices, so just let them go do their thing.
No, that's well put.
I think there's a lot of people out there that would. Thank you. I think there's a lot of people out there that would knowingly and actively take part in the fentanyl movement as we grow it out and get it to be more well known. Because a lot of people have never heard of Narcan or naloxone. They have no clue. They hear fentanyl and they think it's Bigfoot and it's never going to happen to them. Meanwhile, it's fentanyl pills are in every private school in the country.
Terrible. It's terrible.
Every country club. They're everywhere.
It's really, we're being attacked. You said chemical warfare. I love that. But President Trump gets on TV and says, we're being attacked. 100,000 people a year are murdered through fentanyl. Oftentimes they have no idea they're taking fentanyl. I mean, and we haven't been doing anything about it, but talk.
And fentanyl takes. And fentanyl, the scary part, Ross, is we're getting more and more attention now that we've got a lightning rod president who's brave enough to go and be proactive and go after the cartels and go after the Maduros of the world and blow up boats.
Correct.
And make sure everybody hears about it. But the fact is, there's still a shit ton of fentanyl coming in every day.
Every day.
Enough to kill this entire country every day.
Every day.
Right? And what's going to happen is there's going to be pretty well-off young Americans that are going to die as casual users, as party users. Non-addicts are going to be harmed, and their families are going to be harmed by fentanyl. And then we're going to get the attention that we want, right? And so my deal with fentanyl now is, can we quit fucking around and just pay this the attention that it deserves now? I think Jelly Roll about a year ago went in front of Congress and said and talked about like the daily death toll was like a plane crash every day.
Every single day,
if
right.
If we had one plane crash in every day,
and we do nothing about it. Right.
It was great the way he put it.
Yep.
If we had a plane crash every day that we could bank on, well, I wonder when the plane's going to crash this time.
Right.
Right. Would we pay attention? Yeah. We made sure that no more planes were crashing. And I think the more and more that the faces or the collective faces of who's dying and who's being affected by fentanyl, I think the more that changes from the guys and girls under the Bowery that are, they've been living a low life for a long time, the more young faces that we lose to the fentanyl epidemic, the younger and younger and the more innocent that they become, the more attention we're going to get. And I think that this is a perfect time. And a lot of people they don't mind virtue signaling. I don't give a shit. There's no wrong reason to do the right thing. There's no wrong reason to be prepared for an event.
I get it.
We've got these purple one boxes we take to businesses where they've got Narcan with instructions. So every bar and restaurant, that has a first aid kit should also have one of these one boxes. Everywhere there's an AED, everywhere people gather, there's an opportunity to save a life. And that's the deal. Let's make sure that as many avoidable overdoses as there are, let's avoid the fatal ones.
I love it. And I want you to know, I want you to send me some merch.
That's the hill. I want to die.
You send me some merch. and I want to wear an end fentanyl shirt or
Absolutely.
fuck fentanyl shirt, and I'll do a couple of posts, bro, just so you know. So when we launch this podcast, I want it to stand out a little bit. You know what I mean? This is something that, you know, it's a crazy little thing, but public awareness, having a podcast and having social media access, you know, it takes one guy, then it takes another guy, then it takes a guy like a Jelly Roll, maybe a Kardashian. Next thing you know, we have millions of people saying end fentanyl now. That's what happens. That
Right.
precipitates change in this country.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm happy to do my part.
Right. And that's what
I did not know about it.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. It's my honor.
Thank you for like I will get you a swag box sent to you. I've got I told Frank I can't send his yet either. I've got custom boxes with the logo being printed. I want to be able to send guys like you and Frank that have really been supportive. I want to send you everything we got in one cool looking box so you can open it up, pop it off, and know like, hey, this was made for me.
I'm just going to let you know I'm an XL.
I think the logos.
I'm an XL.
I got you.
I want to let you know.
Stuff is good.
And I'm going to be doing posts with that shirt on. I promise you. For a week straight. When we launch this podcast, I'm going to
want everything we got.
Every day I'm going to do a post with, and I love it. It's a beautiful thing. And I want the world to know I'm participating. And, Darryl, is there anything that we haven't touched on today that you'd like to close with, you'd like to share with?
No, I mean, that's it. That really touching on fentanyl now. And honestly, this is really the first podcast that I've gotten to really go deep on it, on what it is, why it's important. So thank you, Ross, for letting me come on and really talk about it. This is the hill I want to die on, man. I want to make this the thing that fills my 2026 and beyond. And it's going to be making relationships with guys like you who have followings who multiply it, you know?
Correct.
There is an endless supply of Narcan that is already paid for by abatement government money. All we've got to do is get it distributed.
I'm in.
It's the easiest problem in the world to fix.
I'm in. I'm all in. And I want to just say,
the easiest problem in the world to fix. And I would love to get you a box.
I'm all in 100%. And I want to say it's been a real privilege to get to know you today, Darryl. It's the beginning of a friendship. And I'm going to join this movement. I'm all in because it's, I told you my best friend in the world buried his daughter in August. And I was like a godfather, an uncle. She used to call me Uncle Ross. Mm-hmm. And fentanyl poisoning. So I want to wish you a happy and a healthy new year to you and yours. And this is a great way to kick off 2026. And just say thank you so much for coming on today and being so candid. I respect you and I appreciate you. Thank you so much.